It's officially time to let somebody else read my manuscript. Welcome back to Writer's Theory. I'm James Winterthorne, and this is my novel that I've been writing on YouTube. The past several months, I've been in the editing phase of the book that I've written, and I went through a ChatGPT edit. I went through a read through and correction myself, and I just now completed the rewrite of chapter 1, and I also put that through ChatGPT as well. And so now I'm on to the phase of sharing the manuscript. This is part of the journey that I like to go through for editing. And I know I like to try to make this an absolute process in that this is how everyone should edit a manuscript. Of course, your journey will be different than mine, will be different than anybody else's. So forgive me if I speak in absolutes when I say this is the next step in editing. This is my next step in editing. And that is, I've got to a point with the story and the quality of the manuscript that I'm willing to let somebody else read it for editing notes, for content notes. So we're at that phase now. Today, I have the last part of the rewrite for chapter 1. So that's what I'll share with you now. So we'll go through the last portion of drafting that. I did a brief video of me making sure that my chapter titles were all at least consistent. So I did that as well, and I'll share that with you. So let's get right to it. I've got 3 clips to share, and let's get it right into the rewrite of chapter 1. Yeah, here I have them in a standoff type situation, where I know these characters really well, but a reader's gonna come in here and not know, and I'm hoping there's enough curiosity with this interaction, with the standoff that's happening here, that it's intriguing enough. So I'm carrying on with the conversation that Mercer and Triton are having, and I want this to be a tense moment, but that is also a great opportunity to get to know these characters. Is a good introduction to these characters, and one that will leave the ending in a believable place. You see, I talked in the last video about removing the stick of dynamite from the scene. I have replaced it with a handful of revolver shells, just because I don't have to explain that. I don't have to go back and explain why there's a stick of dynamite, where it is believable that they would have bullets for their weapons. So I took this opportunity to introduce Mercer in a holistic way that is still a little mysterious, because his nickname being the Ghost. And so I wanted to include that here. I'm worried that I might have forgotten much of my intent when writing the chapter the first time, that I am not including things here. So that's my biggest concern, is how impactful is this chapter right now, since I'm so far removed from the original drafting process when I was very inspired by the story. I still think I did a good job. I think I came to the story in a way that I was able to tell what I wanted to. But that is still a concern that's in my mind. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after I finish sharing the rewrite here. So let's get back to the last of the rewrite for chapter 1. Yeah, luckily, not luckily, it's just the first time I wrote this chapter, it wasn't very long. I think it was like 3,000 words. I think this turns out to be like 2,600, so it's a little bit shorter. And this is one I may have to think on when I come back before I finalize a draft, that the first chapter might still need some tweaking. Yeah, at some point I needed to get on with the action of the scene. Like I have Mercer and Triton really setting up the story with their dialogue. But at some point, like, you know, they're only going to talk so long. Like, how believable is it to have 2 men in a standoff just chatting it up? This isn't a Quentin Tarantino production. So I moved on to the action. Once I basically established the characters, established the basic plot, and then have the exciting thing happen. Wanted to keep it realistic, because just throwing shells in a fire isn't going to cause an immediate reaction. But I can imagine a group of people seeing that happen and then wanting to run from it. And then once I have him hit the water, I wanted to have a real visceral experience of being dragged down a river. And this is basically the same type of ending, or the same way I ended the first chapter when I wrote it the first time. I ended it in the same place here, so that way the continuity between the other chapters in the story is consistent. So that was the rewrite for chapter 1. So my draft is completed. I didn't share the editing portion here, really, so I could be ready for this video. So I have rewritten it. I have edited the first chapter, and now I have sent that file to a trusted person to read, that will look for errors, that will give me notes on the story. And whenever she's done with it, I will get it back and make any changes from there. I had some, before I printed it, I knew my chapter titles were inconsistent because the timeline of the story is such where it bounces around the events of the story. So I wanted to be real clear about where I was at with each chapter. So I did that here. I'm just going to share that real quick. It's just a 1-minute video. And I bounced back and forth between the, I guess, 11 chapters because the epilogue doesn't really need to be titled. But then I went to Control F and I'm like, okay, let me just go through and make sure all the chapters are good. My only intent here is to get the timeline straight. I really don't care about the chapter names right now. In the same way that I'm not really concerned about what the title of the story is. I just want to make sure that this is clear before I ask anybody else to read it. And so I just wanted to share cleaning up those chapter names, if you were curious about it. So from here, I'm through my editing phase at the moment. This is a point at which I give it to somebody else. I let them read it, get their impressions. So from a manuscript standpoint, I'm actually going to walk away from the story right now and work on other parts of the story, or the publication process rather, that being the cover. I think that is the next step for me. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do next, is work on the cover. So I'm going to visit a bookstore that I think is relevant to the story in a way. So I'm interested to share that with you, or I'm excited to share that with you in an upcoming video. So I'm going to visit a bookstore. I'm going to see what book covers are out there, and see what intrigues me, see what's on the market now, and then I'm going to take those notes and I'm going to come back and I'm going to work in Midjourney, and I'm going to create a cover. So I'm going to create the artwork in Midjourney, and I'm going to put the text and format and all that in Photoshop. So I'm going to work in both of those softwares to create a cover. And I'll share my progress along that journey. But this is a fun part of the process. I'm excited to share it with you and move on from there. Once I get the manuscript back, I will, of course, make those changes. I'll share those updates with you. And hopefully at that point, I'm working on formatting the document for publication. I mean, how great is that? It feels like it's so close. But the editing phase, you never know. I think I've been working on this almost as long. I've been working on the editing portion as long as I've been working on the writing portion, of the drafting portion. So while I am closer, it's not done yet. So hopefully it will be done soon. If you want to see how my editing, my cover art process, my publication goes for this novel, or you just like writing content in general, well, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell. You'll be notified when my videos are available. I'm going to plan out some covers, and I will see you in the next video.